edition of the AFTV podcast, World Cup Weekly. I'm your host, Giles, and with me on this today's show, we've got Callum.
Hi, mate.
You right? We've got good man. We've got Rick.
Rick is doing well.
Good man. And we've got a special guest, Matheus. How are you doing? Matheus from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. How are you doing, Matheus?
I'm great, man.
Good
Pleasure
stuff.
to be here.
Good man, good man, good man. All right, so we're right into the sort of the teeth of the group stages now. We're beginning to see who's we're sorting out the wheat from the chaff sort of thing. We'll start, I suppose, with Callum's team, England.
Is it not your team as well, Giles? Have you've gone fully Nigerian now that they're out?
I'm Nigerian. I'm supporting Nigeria possibly up until the end of tonight's
Till 45 minutes time, is it?
Maybe till Wednesday. Who knows? But yeah. Callum, let's review the England situation. What's your review?
It's just horribly depressing. Like the thing was that when the groups were first drawn, I mean, I remember chatting about it quite a lot. I was like, well, Italy are just better than us because I was going off the Euro 2012 performance. Uruguay got to the semi-finals 4 years ago. You know, they got Suarez, Cavani in South America. I thought we're going to lose. I thought I could see us losing both those matches. And then as the tournament got a bit closer, I thought, well, Italy, they're drawing with Luxembourg in friendlies, and Uruguay have got, Suarez is injured, and they've got, Lugano in the defence, who looks rubbish. And I don't know, as the tournament got closer, I allowed myself to go from no expectation to just a little bit of expectation. And even when we lost to Italy, you felt that there was enough there for us to at least not lose to Uruguay. And then just in, it was just a cruel twist the other night when, we finally draw level, Rooney scores, and you think, right, we're going to get a point. And then Steven Gerrard does it again and just, gifts the game away to Suarez in the most, ridiculous way. I remember 4 years ago when Klose scored against us, where they just hoofed it up the pitch from a goal kick. We let it bounce and he scored. It was just as bad as that. And, the overwhelming feeling I've had is that even though I kind of say to myself, don't expect anything, I still end up like absolutely heartbroken. And unlike Arsenal, even when Arsenal fell, that we get to give it another go next season. With England, it's 2018 seems like such a long way away. So it's really quite depressing. And as I was saying to you before, the good thing is that this tournament's been so brilliant that you can kind of take your mind off it with great games elsewhere. But I'm still, completely crushed by how awful we were, and the fact that we're out after 5 days. It's just depressing. So
Callum, what do you think of the lineup? I know a lot of people are upset that he was using both Gerrard and Henderson in the center midfield.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake of the whole thing was the fact that he played Gerrard and Henderson together, because Gerrard cannot play as part of the midfield too. And I think some Liverpool fans had said this season that with him and Henderson together, it never really worked. And really, I think Henderson was kind of in there just to mitigate Gerrard's lack of pace. He needs someone to cover for him. If he's going to play Gerrard, he should have played Wilshere in alongside the two of them, so they had a three in the midfield. That would have worked well. Although, really, I think the best thing to have done would have been to have Wilshere and Henderson in there together. I think Henderson he's quite defensive minded. He's a good tackler, good stamina. I think he could have been a good foil for Wilshere, but obviously he's not going to drop his captain. And to be honest, I wouldn't have done either. But it just that was my biggest gripe. I feel like Danny Welbeck got a lot of stick, and he actually had a really good game against Italy, and not so great against Uruguay. I don't think he was the problem. Although, I was disappointed that Lallana didn't start, but to be honest though, I don't think, unlike 2010, even though we got to the last 16, there was so much wrong with that England team. But with this one, it felt like we've got some good players, especially going forward, and we played some really nice stuff at times, Against Italy, Welbeck and Rooney and Sturridge, Sterling all linked well. Didn't quite click against Uruguay, but I think our attacking shape was actually pretty decent, and I would have liked to see Lallana a little bit more. I think he could have created more than perhaps Welbeck could have. But, the problems really were just with the defence, which we kind of knew was poor, and it's sad because over the years, defence has always been our bread and butter. We've always had great defenders. But now, Jagielka looked really out of his depth, and I think Cahill was all right, but you think, well, who would you drop them for? And really, there's no one who can make a good case. So, it's an odd, because I'm really disappointed, and I think that mistakes were made, but it just seemed that, like, on another day, perhaps we could have drawn those 2 games or even won one of them, and things don't look quite so bad. But the biggest mistake, I think, was playing Gerrard and Henderson together, and unfortunately the defence being really poor. And I said at the time we should have taken Ashley Cole, and I think it looked even, after the Italy game, it looked even sillier that we didn't take him, because he would have done a lot better than Baines, I think. But I don't know, there's going to be the inquest, as there always is, but
I had some people calling for John Terry.
Do you know what? If as much as I hate the man, and he's a prick, but there's a lot of pricks in that England team. Yeah, and to be honest, Cahill and Terry were brilliant for Chelsea last season, and I think really they were the only defensive partnership that was better than Mertesacker and Koscielny. And obviously we rate them, the pair of them, really highly. So, if there's a lot of baggage that comes with it, and I quite like the fact that there wasn't any baggage around this World Cup. It did seem that everything was well prepared, but unfortunately, that even when you get all that sorted, you feel like you're prepared and that the camp's happy and everyone's happy with the manager. In the end, we still weren't good enough on the pitch, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And yeah, it's depressing.
These games are decided by fine margins, though, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if
England aren't that bad, really, are
we're
they?
not. We're not. I mean, the thing that annoyed me was that I look back at the group we had in 2010. We had, with all due respect, Rick, we had the USA with the hardest team in the group, Slovenia and Algeria. And we went there with I think we had a pretty poor squad then. I mean, Matty Upson was getting regular minutes for us, and Sean Wright Phillips, so there's not...
Rob Green!
Yeah, and, I don't know what you're talking about, mate. But, so yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, so you look at the squad now, I think it is better, and you look at some of the younger players we've got coming through in the attack, and it's looking good, but so if we'd had that group this year, I feel like we would have progressed, because we've seen teams like Argentina who had played 2 pretty average matches against poor opposition, but they've won. And I think we've actually played, especially against Italy, played quite well, but we lost because Italy played. And what annoys me is that Italy and Uruguay were both shocking against Costa Rica. But against us, they actually, both of them raised the game. So, there's a mixture of just kind of worrying our luck, because I think if we'd had the group we had 4 years ago this year, we would have progressed with ease, really. We might have still been found out against the good teams, as Italy in particular proved. But, as you said, it's the finest of margins, and, if Gerrard doesn't lose his mind again and flick the ball on to Suarez, then it probably ends 1-1, and then we go into the Costa Rica game thinking, well, if we win this, then we're through, and I think after what happened against Italy, you would have taken that. So, I think sometimes there is a degree of, I think we are generally on the right path. I think Hodgson is probably the best man for the job at the moment, partially because there really isn't anyone else, unless you want Sam Allardyce taking control and Andy Carroll starting every match. But, I don't know, I hate these inquests, all I want to do is forget about England now and just focus on the rest of the football. And, even I found myself just looking at Arsenal transfer speculation in the Metro website after England knocked out. That's how desperate I was to just remove myself from the situation. And
I feel your pain. And on that note, Rick, do you think that England would? Do you think, as Callum said, Italy and Uruguay raised their games for England, but did they take their eye off the ball with Costa Rica? Did they think it could have been a foregone conclusion, and therefore came a cropper against the Costa Ricans?
Maybe just a little bit. I think nobody expected this out of Costa Rica, but they've shown that they can attack, and they can attack with pace. And Italy and Uruguay were not the only teams caught out by teams counterattacking with pace. We've seen other teams surprise.
Colombia did that the other night.
Yeah, Colombia did that. Things like that. So I think there's a lot less disparity between countries that there used to be, and I think some of these people that are used to walking into these tournaments and turning over the smaller countries are getting a little bit surprised. Yeah,
indeed. Matheus, the biggest defeats, the biggest scorelines have been against between the more likely teams, the more fancy teams, you've got 4-0 Germany, Portugal, 5-1 Spain, Netherlands, and to an extent, France beat Switzerland, who qualified ahead of France, 5-2. Whereas, as Rick says, the smaller countries, I suppose the smaller countries have all acquitted themselves very well. What do you think? I mean, why has this World Cup, do you think, been so good so far?
It's crazy. The atmosphere is insane. There are lots of people from South America here in Brazil, and it's really half and half. At every stadium, the South American teams they're playing like home, and the likes of Costa Rica and Colombia and Uruguay and Argentina, especially today in Belo Horizonte, they were at home, basically at home, and this is helping them a lot. But the smaller teams, I think they upped their game defensively. It's very important against the bigger teams.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. I mean, they seem to be so well organized. Iran today, as you said, against Argentina, they could have won. They could have beaten Argentina with more luck.
They had a lot of chances.
Mm-hmm.
But Romero was on top of his game. He had an outstanding performance. The Argentina goalkeeper.
Exactly, and it took a moment of brilliance, a moment of magic from Messi to actually win the game, didn't it?
Yeah. He's Messi. You can't argue with that. He can decide a game 3 seconds. With one play, he decides the game, and the geniuses are made of this. He wasn't having a very good game until that play, that goal, and outstanding.
How scared are the Brazilians of Messi and Argentina in general? Because I know the pressure on Brazil is unbelievably huge as it is. But, I mean, if you guys play Argentina, I mean, as a neutral, I really want it to happen, but I can imagine that Brazil team will go into that game, potentially, knowing that if they lose it, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but it ain't going to be pretty, is it? And Messi, when you see him playing averagely and then just pulling out a bits of magic, I mean, it's kind of like, imagine if Scotland had a really good player as an Englishman, and we had a World Cup in England, and the Scots, that's the kind of thing. It wouldn't be good, but I mean, but Brazil, they must be a bit wary of him, surely.
Yes, we're. Speaking for myself, I'm dying to see a World Cup final between Brazil and Argentina.
You'd like that?
Yes, I'd love that. At Maracanã, oh my God.
Would it not scare you, though, given what happened in 1950? Happening again?
This is a third page already. Can be sure of that. But what gives me more confidence about facing Argentina is their defense. Dreadful defense. I've never seen Argentina with that bad at defense. Even Zabaleta is giving me negative surprise, But Messi not playing that well, and Di Maria as well. I don't think that bad phase will last the entire tournament. They will up their game in the next stage. That's for sure. They are decisive players.
Well, it's funny, isn't it, that you talk about defence, because Brazil have always been renowned for not having perhaps the best defence and a great attack. And this year, I don't think, what have Brazil ever gone into a World Cup with a weaker starting striker than Fred? But also, their defence looks pretty mean at the same time, doesn't it?
Our defence is our most solid base on this team.
And that's strange for a Brazilian team.
Sorry?
Yeah, that's quite strange for a Brazilian team in a World Cup.
We're used to have very good attacking players. We have good attacking players now, but not that center forwards we've had for a lot of time, for a lot of other World Cups, like Ronaldo and Romario, Bebeto. but our defense is very solid. Thiago Silva is the best center half in the world, in my humble opinion. A little bit biased, maybe. But him pairing David Luiz, he gets the best of David Luiz. When they... Sorry. Go on.
Last week we had a guy based in Argentina on, and I asked him. I said, "What do you make of Philip Scolari's team?" And because it seems like a lot of pressure. The pressure of the nation is on Neymar's shoulders, whereas with Argentina, Messi seems to have a better supporting cast. Scolari decided not to go with Lucas Moura. He didn't go with Coutinho. He dropped quite a few. He left out quite a few players that probably maybe people might have thought could have supported Neymar a lot better. And this guy suggested that Philip Scolari likes his teams to work in systems.
Yeah.
So Neymar sort of fitting into a system, whereas with Argentina, Sabella has created a system around Messi. He's replicated the Barcelona of 2009 with this present Argentina team. So therefore, it looks as though if Brazil are to win, it has to go through. It can only go through Neymar. Do you agree with that assessment, or?
Completely. Neymar is our most gifted player and our best player at everything. He can finish, he can create, he can run, he can everything. Everything Brazil does goes through Neymar. But the thing is, the players around him need to get more close to him. He's doing everything alone for most of the time. He himself is holding the ball too much. He has to involve other players in the plays too. Thing is, we lack creativity. Oscar did very well against Croatia, but against Mexico he wasn't the same player. He's very inconsistent, and I think William would give us that. He's a very creative player. Regarding Lucas Moura not being called up, I think Scolari does a lot of tests with players. He doesn't take only in accountants the phases the players are having at their clubs. He has to test them at the national team first before calling them up, and it takes some time. And we had to have time when people asked for them to be called up. Lucas Moura and Coutinho, both of them. And I would have gone with William and Oscar. I mean, in my opinion, Scolari did right there. But one player that can't be in the starting lineup anymore is Paulinho. He's having a dreadful season. He's had a dreadful season and done nothing to deserve a starting spot at this World Cup yet.
Is that the thinking of a lot of Brazilians? Is that what a lot of Brazilians think? Yeah.
I guess the most popular opinion is that Paulinho should be benched.
How does he get a game? Does he have dirt on Scolari or something?
Sorry, didn't understand. Sorry.
I mean, how does he keep? I mean, why does he keep sticking with him? Because you've got Fernandinho on the bench who had a great season for Man City, and he looks like he. I mean, why? I mean, it just doesn't. I know Scolari likes. It seems that he last summer at the Confederations Cup he had his team, and he's like, right, this is going to be my group of players. But it seems that surely if a player is underperforming and you've got a really good replacement on the bench, you would at least give that guy a go.
It's because Scolari is a player's coach, you know. He gives the players confidence all the time, and he doesn't always seem to think tactically. He doesn't base his team on the performance itself. At the moment, I mean. At the Confederations Cup, Paulinho had a outstanding tournament.
He did, yes, he did.
Yes.
Then he went to Tottenham and it all went downhill. As it so often does for some players.
That hurt because I actually liked him before he joined Tottenham. Now I just can't do it anymore.
As in the case of the striker situation, you've got Fred and then you've got Joe. Is there anybody else?
Where's Bob?
You have to remember me that. Really.
What happened to, I mean, Leandro Damião? He didn't make the squad. I mean, was there really nobody else in playing in the Brasileira or around Europe that they could have called upon? I mean,
yeah, there was Diego Costa.
Diego Costa. What happened with that? What happened with that? I mean,
Scolari left it too late to call him. He left it too late. He had already talked to Del Bosque and it was inevitable. Wow. Scolari had needed to call him up very early.
Mm-hmm. But because he believes in the players that he chose, and he didn't bother to make the phone.
The sad thing is, though, is that he would be perfect for Brazil, but he just stands out like a sore thumb for Spain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And part of him must be thinking, have I made the right choice?
Well, I think we gotta remember back then Diego Costa was seen as a troublemaker, right?
Yeah, that's
sure.
true.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think he'd be the only one in the Brazil squad, surely. Like, and when you've got Fred as your main striker, and then you've got, I would probably risk it, I think, but it just seems like such a shame for Brazil that they're missing out on this player that looks like he could be, genuinely top class. And he just doesn't look. He's just not Spanish. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't seem right, and he doesn't fit their way of playing at all. And I don't know. It just seems extremely strange, the whole situation, from a practical sense, anyway.
Yeah.
Do you think that you've still got enough to go on and make the final?
I'm less confident now, but I think we will.
Mm-hmm. They say, I mean, the experts say that the Brazil half of the draw is much harder than the Argentina half of the draw. No, I was chatting to a few Brazilians a few weeks ago before the tournament started, and I asked them, I asked how confident are you about your chances, and they said to me, everything's fine unless you go 1-0 down. If you go 1-0 down in the game, then the fans could possibly turn or become agitated and then heap more pressure on the team, and that will be the true test of Brazil. Do you agree with that?
Couldn't agree more. We have a very, how could I say, exigent. I don't know how to say this in English, but it's a tough crowd. We are used to very good performances all the time, with brilliant players and beautiful football and stuff like that. And this national team, these players right now can't produce what we did for years. We don't, starting for the center forward, we don't have that quality center forward like Ronaldo. He decided matches and he brought players into place. And he's been our best player for, I don't know, almost a decade. Even with his injuries, and I don't know, a center forward is very needed for us.
Okay, so you've got Cameroon tomorrow. You're quite confident of your chances of winning tomorrow.
Yeah, their team isn't very hard to beat, But we will have to be careful. They don't have any responsibility anymore. They are playing for pride, If they go into the pitch, wanting to go home with the prize of beating Brazil at Brazil, we can get problems.
So you're saying it depends if Brazil have to be guard against complacency. Brazil can't be complacent.
Yes.
Cameroon will be playing for pride, and an upset could happen if Brazil are not.
Exactly.
100% concentrated. Okay, cool. Let's move on to US of A.
Do we have to?
Rick?
Just momentarily, yes.
Rick, you've probably US of A has probably given us one of the moments of the World Cup that will probably go down. Will be remembered for a very long time. I'm talking of John Brooks. And his fantastic celebration, quite emotional celebration.
Oh yeah,
scoring that
Couldn't
winner.
believe it.
It was real snatching victory from the hands of defeat. Were you behind in that game? Was that?
It was 1-1. It was 1-1.
It was 1-1. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, it was nearly time ended on, wasn't it? Exactly how. Exactly. I remember talking to you on WhatsApp, and you said that you went absolutely apeshit.
I did.
You went crazy. Exactly. I mean, where were you watching it, and what was the reaction like at that point in time?
Well, I was watching it in a pub close to my house. It was not a strong soccer or football pub. There are several around town. I just didn't feel like driving to one because, this was close to my house, so if I got too drunk, I could walk home. And B, as it turns out, when I went apeshit and offered everybody a shot of tequila, I only had 6 takers. If I was in one of those other bars, I'd have walked home broke. So it was good that I was in a small pub. But it kind of took away a little bit of the atmosphere of the game, being in a place like that where people showed up half an hour late because they thought the game started at that time. They didn't even pay attention. But for me, it was just tense. The whole second half. I think I mentioned before we went on air that I had a beer in front of me the entire half, and I don't think I took like 3 drinks out of it. It was crazy. Until the 86th or 87th minute when the goal went in, and I'm pounding my hands on the bar saying tequila for everyone. But it was, you could see what it meant to John Brooks, who probably never thought he was going to get a minute in this World Cup. I think it was only because Beasler was out with injury that he even got in there. He probably didn't even expect to play, and he's talking about his dream of scoring a goal, and it happens for him in the very first game. And it's a winner, too. And that was just fantastic. Just fantastic. And right now, after the draw between Germany and Ghana right now, we're sitting in a position I don't think we thought we would be in going into our second game. But, of course, that doesn't make the second game any easier. Portugal's still a very dangerous team, especially coming off an embarrassing loss. They might be a little wound up and wanting to rectify that situation.
I think you'll beat them. I think they were weak anyway. Ronaldo's not fit. Pepe got himself sent off. I just think
Contral's gone from the team.
I just think that
Contral's gone too. That's big.
They've always been a team that seems to have, Ronaldo and then perhaps 3 or 4 quality kind of secondary players. And then, one of them, Pepe, he's gone. As I say, Contral's injured. Martinho was completely anonymous in the game. I think USA will beat him. I think they will. I was a bit gutted. I thought that game was tonight, so I was getting all excited for that. But I think the way the Portugal played, the way the US played, I think the US will beat them. I don't think Portugal will be going up.
I am feeling confident, especially when I saw that Contral was out as well. And
didn't you beat them in 2002 or 6?
We did.
Brian McBride.
Yes, 2002.
Yeah.
Very good. But I am confident going into the game. And when the World Cup started, I didn't think I would be feeling this confident because the U.S. team had not, in all the friendlies leading up to the tournament, we hadn't performed well at all. I was pretty disappointed in our performances. And in the first game, it's a great 3 points against Ghana. As Ghana showed, they drew against Germany, for crying out loud. So it was not a weak team. It was not somebody that we just, it is a game we just squeaked out of, but it was against a good team. So I think we can walk into the Portugal game with a little confidence, knowing that we did face a strong team in Ghana.
You don't have Josie anymore, though, do you?
No.
That could be as big a blow for you as losing Ronaldo could be for Portugal.
It could be. It could be because
he was playing well though. He scored.
Not that Josie's a prolific striker, but
did he not score 2 in a warm-up game? And he was looking pretty. But that is a shame.
I didn't. One was just a tap in. It really didn't matter much. But the second goal he got in that warm-up game was good, and that we were hoping that was going to get his confidence back. But yeah, he didn't last 15 minutes. That was pretty unfortunate.
And you could tell straight away that was him done.
Oh yeah, and they're talking after the game. Oh, he might play again later, and I'm thinking, no way, I've done that.
When he when he
There's
pulled
no
up, were people immediately saying should have had Landon? I know they're not exactly the same players, but they both, I guess, played.
Nobody in the bar I was in said that, but I'm
but
sure.
the people,
Yeah, I was
in
the back of my mind thinking it.
Yeah, I think that it vindicates Klinsmann, doesn't it? Really, in the same way that the way that the big stink about Deschamps living at Nasri, and France have started so well. No one's talking about that anymore, and
right.
It seems that he was completely right about Donovan so far. I mean, the way that USA played.
Yeah,
Dempsey was great,
and
and
I don't want to get too far ahead of it. But yeah, so far.
Hey, you won a match, so enjoy it.
Yeah, we got more points than England.
Yeah.
Can I just ask?
As it turns out, I know a lot of the people in the States, consider our group the group of death because of all the FIFA rankings, but we know FIFA rankings are shit.
Mm.
It really looks like the group you're in, England's in, is just as big a group of death as any.
Well, it is because everyone thought Costa Rica were the shit team, and they're
exactly
they're qualified. So
as group winners. Purposes.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's such a good World Cup, isn't it? It's just
it is.
But can I just ask though? Australia, since 2006, Gus Hiddink came in and sort of revolutionised Australian football from the ground up. A lot of Dutch coaches are now plying their trade in Australia, and we've seen, even though they've gone out, the forward strides they've made over the last 8 years to now. Klinsmann's been with the USA for how long? I'm not sure. Was it since the last World Cup? After the last World Cup, is it, or did he take the reins?
2 years ago, the Gold Cup.
Right. Okay. And he seemed to have. He's poaching players from Germany, Ethiopia. I mean, we've heard that Zelen's now planted his allegiance to America. You've got this young kid, Julian Green, from German football. John Brooks, I believe, was brought up in Germany. Is that right?
Zelalem definitely plays his elite. Is he definitely going to play? Because I thought it was whole. I didn't.
Yes, America.
The last I heard of it was that he was German, but he was considering it playing. But if he did play for someone else, then he would revoke his German citizenship, and then therefore no longer be an EU member, and then therefore would have work permit issues. I don't remember hearing. You could be right. I know I know he spent years in America, and he was in Washington. He was trained up, but I didn't realize that he actually played for the state.
From what I understand, he's pledged his allegiance to America.
That's good news for us then.
Yeah,
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it seems as though he's pledged. Yeah, he's given his. I'm just reading it now.
But yeah, Klinsmann did grab a lot of German players. John Brooks, Fabian Johnson, and a lot of people based out of Germany. Why am I drawing?
Jones was
Jermaine
before
Jones.
he came. He was
Julian Green as well. There's a lot of hype around him.
What is he doing for American football? Stateside, I mean, what's the sort of consensus, the feeling towards about Jurgen Klinsmann? Is he doing good things as far as people are concerned over there?
I think so, but nobody's really over the top about it. I think they like his positive attitude and his attack mentality, and everybody enjoys that. But they actually restructured, I think, the youth league and took away a little bit of the power from Klinsmann and given it to former U.S. players like Claudio Reyna and Tab Ramos. And I think they did that because I think, maybe Klinsmann got too, looking in too many directions. He maybe spent too much time in Germany. I don't know. But they really like his positive attitude, his attack mentality, but they did restructure the youth leagues, and I don't know how much control he has over youth development in the States anymore. I know he has involvement in it, but I don't think he has direct control of youth development anymore.
Right. And how long is his contract? Is he here for another? Is he going to be there at the helm just until after, just for the World Cup, or is he he's staying on longer?
He's contracted through the next World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave him this over the winter, I think. They gave him that contract before we'd even really completed qualification.
So that tells me that they also got a long-term vision in place, and he's the man to sort of drive that vision and drive you guys forward.
Yeah.
the performances, or the performance that we've seen so far, it goes hand in hand with, this thing about, supposedly smaller nations. I'm not talking about smaller in size of country, but in terms of history, have done really well at the World Cup. Just how far do you think USA can go?
Well, going into the World Cup, I said if we get out of our group, that'd be success, and probably still is. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but if by chance we, by some miracle, we qualify out of the group and don't have to face Belgium in the next round, then if we don't have to face Belgium, then I would probably expect us to get past the next group stage, the first round of the knockout stages. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I think getting out of this group would be a great accomplishment right now for this team.
Your chances for tomorrow, then, you're confident that you can go ahead and beat the Portugal team that's in disarray at the moment?
I am confident. I'm not overconfident, but I am confident. You just never know when that prick Nanny's going to show up and do something spectacular. I hate that guy. Every once in a while, he just does something great.
But the Portuguese have always struggled because they've never had a recognised striker, have they? And if they've not got Ronaldo,
the striker that they started in the first game is not available either, is he?
Is it Postiga? Did they start with Postiga? Yeah. I mean, if they don't have Ronaldo, then they really will struggle. Or if Ronaldo's not fit enough to start or finish the game, it looks like they really could struggle because I think that's been one of Portugal's main weaknesses. I mean, they've got great players all over the pitch, apart from up front. Maybe they should have gone for Diego Costa.
He did spend a year there, didn't he?
Yeah, on loan, absolutely. And I'm sure it would have been easier to fast track his citizenship because of the Portugal-Brazil connection.
Has he got a granny from Yorkshire, do you think?
Yeah. Roy Hodgson should have got in there early.
We could probably do with Thiago Silva more than we could do Costa, though, in all seriousness.
Liverpool is wrong.
For any Brazilian, send them our way.
Yeah.
We'll take them.
Well, so right now, my team Nigeria are playing. I haven't got the TV on, so I don't know what the score is. But I'm hoping we're still in the World
2-0
Cup.
Bosnia, mate.
You're joking.
You're joking. 2-0. I've got it on mute, but Bosnia did have the ball in the net, although it didn't count for some reason.
Right.
That's my analysis so far.
A wrongly disallowed goal, Dzeko.
All right.
I was just allowed to go. Okay, yeah. Cool.
Pretty right. I don't think you're missing much, Jonas, at the moment. So are you full on supporting Nigeria then, even when England were in it?
I was. England were my second team. Yeah, England were my second team, so I was full on Nigeria, keeping an eye on England. Now that England are out, I can fully concentrate on Nigeria. But it's not been fun watching, like you said, Callum, watching England's not been fun. You've not really been able to enjoy it. I haven't really been able. I mean, I've enjoyed the World Cup, but I've not enjoyed it as much as I can because Nigeria have been, even though we haven't actually lost the game yet, we were woeful. It was the worst game World Cup by far.
Iran, yeah, it was. There had to be a shit game eventually, but that was most definitely it.
And looking at, Nigeria has 150, 160 inhabitants. We've got diaspora strewn across all over the world. I can't believe we can't find another Kanu or JJ Okocha.
You've caught Victor Moses. Have you seen that?
I know. You must have paid somebody. You must have paid.
You won't have seen this, Rick and Matt, because it's in Britain, but they've got a new, I think it's Adidas advert. And they've got 4 footballers in it. They've got Leo Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney, and Victor Moses. That's the 4. And what do you think? Well, I mean, Rooney isn't the best player in the world, but he's a big star in England. I think they must have run out of budget and just.
I'm sure his agent paid them to get him on there. Yeah, I mean, just to give him some sort of exposure. Nigeria as it stands.
Zeko's still on goal. Good save! What a save!
And Yema's a very good keeper. He's very underrated, actually. I think he was in the French Ligue 1 Team of the Year. He's probably our best player, actually. When you've got to bring on, when you're talking about bringing on Shola Amiobi as an attacking option, you can see how dire.
He nearly scored against Iran, though. He was all right.
Yeah, he had the header, but I mean, you know, Shola Amiobi, he got released by Newcastle the other day. I mean, you know,
How's
that's...
Dominique doing?
Sorry?
How's Dominique doing for you? He's playing
Emenike.
well? Yeah.
He's a bit of a bull. He's a bull in a china shop. He's got no real finesse, unfortunately. But he's very hardworking. He's very willing. I'm not sure if it's the players or the tactics employed. I've got a feeling it might be something to do with the tactics because there's less talented teams that are set up tactically much better, you know, in terms of structure and the way you're playing. If you look at Iran, look at, you know, other teams, you know, Algeria played very well against Belgium, I thought, you know, even though they're the highest ranked African team, I'd still say we won the African Nations Cup, so the talent pool should be great. So, you know, I'm not sure where the breakdown is, but you know, it just doesn't look very good. It doesn't look very cohesive. Doesn't look very fluid. It seems to be get the ball on the wing and try and cross it in like aimless crosses, and you know, there's no sort of play. There's no build-up play through the middle. If you look at teams like Italy, they're always looking for the ball over the top, round the corner. You know, Pirlo's always looking for that ball, you know, around the back door, but we don't seem to be playing like that, and it's worrying, it's disappointing. But as I say, we're still in the World Cup. We haven't lost the game, so you know, I'm hanging on to that one shred of comfort, and hopefully.
It's a shame about the African countries because I think for a while, I mean, Pele said famously, didn't he, that I can't remember when he said it, but he said there'd be a African winner by the 21st century, and it's really not come. I mean, Senegal got to quarterfinals in 2002. I remember that, and Ghana did well 4 years ago. But I mean,
Ivory Coast was my bad.
The shame with Ivory Coast is that the last two World Cups is that they've had two really tough groups, and that's when you know Drogba was in his prime. I mean, they've still got a good squad now, and I think they probably will qualify from their group, but their golden generation as such is kind of towards its back end now. And I think if you're able to. I mean, there's a lot of good African players that are just kind of spread out amongst the teams, and it looks like you've got each African country seems to have 2 or 3 really good players, but then there's a big drop in quality, I think, in terms of squad depth. And if you put like a combined African team together, you'd actually have a pretty decent side.
Funny enough, somebody in the pub said that today. Actually, if Africa was a nation rather than a continent, probably have quite a competitive team.
But then if you did that for every other continent,
exactly.
It'll be
exactly.
But it's I mean, Africa does produce a lot of good players. I think it's just.
Absolutely. I think it's organisation. I'm talking about administration organisation.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's funny you're saying about organisation. I mean, the Ghana match earlier was absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you guys watched it, but Ghana seemed to kind of lose their heads a little bit. And just get so excited by the occasion when they went 2-1 up, and their decision making was a little bit off. And of course, Germany, being Germany, just ruined the fun with a closer goal. And I can't really talk because England lost their shit as soon as they went level with Uruguay. But you never know. Ivory Coast could get through Nigeria if they get a good result today.
I'm hoping at least one African.
I think everyone wants to see the African countries do well because, first of all, because the goal celebrations are brilliant. Although to be fair, the Colombians have been absolutely brilliant as well.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
Did you see Klose's celebration? He tried to do his little front flip, but being an old man now, he only did half of it. So you had the best celebration at all.
He never was very good at that, to be honest.
Well, he used to be able to at least land on his feet rather than in his arse. So he is getting the sands of time are catching up with him. But yeah, it's when it's a World Cup, you don't want it to be just European teams and South American teams. You want to see a bit of diversity in there as well.
Do you think that the fact that they're in Brazil, the tournament's being played in Brazil, isn't it really if not the birthplace of football, it's the home of football, of good football. And every team seems to be, or most teams, the majority of teams really want to put on a show, a spectacle. They really want to show how attacking they are.
Kind of, but if you think of it like, it's strange in recent years, football, if you think about the Premier League, 1-0 Nigeria, there you go, Odemwingie.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
There we are. He's about as Nigerian as you, Giles, probably.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But if you look at like the Premier League for recent years, it just seems that the defences are getting shitter and shitter. I mean, it seems to be like attacking play is the way forward. and it's hard to put your finger on it, but it's all this caginess that was in South Africa seems to have just had the shackles taken off. And I think really it's when how many teams do we say, oh, they've got a really good attack, but the defence is a bit shaky.
Exactly.
And then you realise that you can say that for pretty much exactly every side. I mean, England, we were saying, Uruguay definitely.
Argentina,
the famous one. Brazil, it's weird that Brazil are the only team really where you can say it was the other way around.
Exactly. Spain,
Spain has just been awful in general, but you know, and I don't know. I just think when you've got, it's more fun, isn't it? And I think nowadays defenders, I don't know. It's really strange why it's been so different. But you might be onto something about it being in South America. But teams like Chile and Colombia have just been. They've probably got. I think they've got decent defences, but they're not as good as their attackers. And when you've got better attackers than defences, you think, well, let's go.
It should make for good football, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it's a fantastic combination.
Chile have probably been my favourite team so far. I think they're absolutely brilliant against Spain.
Matheus, what do you make of Chile and Colombia, your South American neighbours?
They are very good on the break. Their counter-attacking game is unbelievably fast, and Alexis Sanchez is a player. I don't know, he's amazing. I'm a huge fan of his. And James Rodriguez too. Juan Manuel Quintero is gonna be a star. This kid is very good. But the main thing are the coach for Chile. Mainly.
Sampaoli.
It looks like the scariest fitness instructor of all time. Like if he was telling you on a treadmill to run, you would run.
That's true. He's almost perfect tactically. He's very very intelligent, and he learned from Marcelo Bielsa, and that's enough.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah, Marcelo Bielsa is one of the great coaches of South American football. Okay, so let's talk about Arsenal players, past and present at the World Cup. We spoke before we came on the pod about one Alex Song and his antics in the Croatia match. We was watching it the other day, and I said, oh, has Alex Song just been sent off? And someone said, yeah, it's a nothing tackle. And we watched it again, and it was an assault, wasn't it? He actually assaulted the guy.
He did his best Pepe impression.
Yeah.
I thought it was actually quite impressive how he managed to, while sprinting pretty quickly, rake his elbow down the back. It took a bit of effort there. But you do understand, like, I mean, I know footballers aren't the brightest bunch, but you must think to yourself, right, I'm in the World Cup for my country, you know, and Cameroon aren't particularly great footballing nation, so it's a big deal for them, and he thinks, you know, at this point, where they're losing 1-0, I mean, they're well in with the chance, you know, and he just thinks, right, I'm going to act like an absolute dick, right, assault another player, and pretty much doom my team and my country to being out of the World Cup. And then he goes and does it, and it's just think, how stupid can you get? I mean, I know like football's a team game, but if my teammate did that, I would just say to him, what the fuck are you thinking? Because it was unbelievable.
Well, and it was weak too. He like swung like a girl.
It's just
if you're going to get a red card and get thrown out of a match, you got to do it like Zizou.
Yeah,
you got to knock a guy out of that.
Exactly. That was conviction. You know what I mean? He was like,
he got a statue made of him, didn't he?
You almost have to respect it. But with that, it's just cowardly from behind, and it's just like what goes through his head. Same with Pepe as well. I mean,
and to make matters worse, and you got the idiot from Tottenham, you know, having a go, headbutting his own player at the end and whatnot, and it just really. I mean, on top of the whole win bonus or whatever it was that, you know, they were threatening not to make the World Cup, for that to happen as well, it just really painted them in a really poor light, didn't it?
Well, it does, and it shines a negative light on African football. Because that's what the image that they perhaps, you know, disorganised. I mean, Cameroon have in particular have a bad reputation of being, you know, fighting amongst themselves and stuff, and it's just a complete shambles. And they've really stunk out the place, I think, and in what's been such a great World Cup. I mean, even though England was shit and got knocked out, they at least tried to play some good football. And Cameroon, but it's just disgraceful the way Song behaved and the way they were fighting. I mean, it's a World Cup, for God's sake. You represent your country on the national scale, on the international scene. You don't go and do that. And I don't think anyone's going to be sad that they're going out. Because it's a good Group A as well. And Mexico, Croatia is going to be a great game.
I think the better display of ex-Arsenal players was the Senderos Giroud combination, wasn't it?
I said on Twitter.
Ship 5.
It really makes you appreciate Mertesacker and Koscielny, doesn't it? That,
Yeah.
Although someone tweeted that apparently we went to Stamford Bridge and got a draw with that defensive pairing once. So.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? It's almost you want to question the person's sanity, really. You actually want to check the stats on that one, really.
It was a different time.
But they were, It was like watching them in Arsenal of old, really. They were terrible. It was awful. It was unbelievable, And Giroud. I mean, somebody said on Twitter that Giroud and Campbell better tone it down, otherwise Wenger might not go out and buy a striker this summer. Yeah. They've been playing that well, but Giroud just looked a different player, didn't he, for France? He looked faster, he looked leaner, he looked even more handsome.
What it is, it's that French shirt, mate. The thing is, though, it's just what do we know about Giroud is that when you put players running off him, he'll do better. Like the times that he's looked at his worst for Arsenal was when he's been isolated, when he's been battling for balls, he's having to try too hard. But when he's got a bit of space to work in and he's got players running off him and he can link up with, he's brilliant. And he's obviously he's fresh. I mean, the header was superb. People were trying to downplay it because the goalie got a hand to it, but it was from a standing position. It was really, really a bullet header. And then I think when we saw him run down the wing for Valbuena's goal, it's almost hard to believe that was the same player that we'd seen. Yeah. I mean, he did look like he was blowing out of his arse there when he was going down. But I mean, it was a great pass as well. What the Ghana player earlier should have done when it would have made a 3-1. But it was brilliant, and it was encouraging to see. I just think he's so underappreciated by some Arsenal fans, and people say, "Oh, France must be awful if Giroud is getting a game," but he's even there on merit. I mean, he even moved Deschamps moved Benzema out onto the wing to accommodate for Giroud, and he was completely vindicated. And I think from here on in, he'll probably start the next match and. So it was just it was great to see. Some people will continue to deny that he's a decent player, but give him a bit of space, give him players running around him, give him a bit of when he's not fatigued, he'll do well.
They must have.
Very harsh on him. Sometimes.
Yeah.
He's a scapegoat. True. He's the guy that Gervinho was when Gervinho was here. Same with Ramsey when he wasn't playing well.
Mm-hmm. Same with Wilshere now as well.
It's just what I found baffling was when we lost 6-0 to Chelsea and people were blaming Giroud. And it's like when your team conceded 6 goals, it's not the striker's fault. It's not the striker. Yeah. He played awful in that match, but come on. But anyway, but for France, he's been brilliant, and he's scored a couple of brilliant goals, I think, for them in the last couple of seasons, and his goal scoring and assist record for Arsenal and France is really respectable. So.
And Sonia's not playing.
I was going to say, I was going to ask Matheus and yourself, Rick. Stanley's not played. Debuchy, has he been that good? Why do you think he's in there ahead of Sanya? I'm going to start with Rick and then go to you, Matheus.
My only assumption is that he's going with youth. He knows that this is probably Sanya's last time, and he's looking to the future. Maybe I don't really know because I think Debuchy was even hurt for a while. Didn't he just come back from injury or something?
Is Debuchy about 28, 29?
He's 29 anyway.
Oh, he's older than I think. Okay, maybe not then. I don't know.
Maybe I think it's more for an attacking play. Debuchy goes forward better than Saya. Saya is more of a defensive fullback.
Hey,
that could probably be the reason.
Speaking of attacking fullback, so.
Aurier.
Yeah.
He's not really a fullback, is he? He's not really a fullback, is he?
He's more of a winger.
Yeah. His attacking play seems to be much more developed than his defensive play from what I can see so far. But, I mean, he's looked really good. 2 assists. Nearly had a goal the other night as well. I memean,
the cross for the Bonnie goal in particular was just outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's only
ridiculous good.
He's only 21, but I think it's hard to think of a fullback who can cross as well as him.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
The thing is, I think the case is none of us watch Toulouse play regularly, so it's difficult to say. But I think people immediately assume with fullbacks they can either defend or they can attack, and it's very rare that there's both. But I don't think the fact that because he's so good going forward, people have kind of said, well, he'll need to improve his defensive abilities. And he's 21, so I'm sure he will. But I don't necessarily believe that just because he's great going forward, he's therefore vulnerable at the back. I mean, for example, no matter how good our fullbacks are defensively, Wenger will always tell them to push forward because that's how we play. So, Gibbs, I think, is a good defensive fullback, but he always pushes forward, not because he's not good defensively, but because Wenger tells him to. So I think Aurier isn't necessarily poor in defence, and because he's so quick and so strong, I think he's a very difficult player to beat. And if we might not even sign him, but
you're talking as if we signed him already.
He's been linked. He could be the next Jan and Via. Man, he's been linked with us all summer, hasn't he? And but I like the look of him. I think for the money. I mean, I'd rather us go spend big money elsewhere. To be honest, I'd like Seamus Coleman, but 20 million on him.
No.
I'd rather see that on a striker or someone like Alexis Sanchez. I don't know, but I think for 8 million or so, he'd be a great signing. And he's a bit raw, but he signed Lauren and he signed Sagna, and they were from France, isn't he? And they were both brilliant. So in terms of like French-speaking right backs, he knows his stuff.
The thing about earlier is African Cup of Nations. He'll be out for a very decisive.
That's true, but I think our January schedule is pretty decent, and we have the corporal, so it's all right.
Mm-hmm. Rick, Matheus, what did you make of Mertesacker, Özil, and Podolski today?
Did Podolski get on? I don't.
No, he didn't.
Okay, Mertesacker and Özil then. Sorry.
Ozil did his typical stuff. He's smooth on the ball, made some great passes, does not come back.
Vanishes on the game.
And Mertesacker, they scored that head ball. It almost looked like Mertesacker ducked. He didn't even challenge for the ball. I mean, I know it wasn't his man, but at the same time, he ducked. The big man ducked. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Matheus, what did you think?
Strange. I think he should have covered better. He should have been covered better, Mertesacker. And Ozil, he goes missing very much during the games. I don't know what goes on with him, but he has to turn up more, show himself to the game.
Do you think he did well in the first game, though? He seemed to do very well in the Portugal game, didn't he?
Yeah, he was way better, but I think it's due to Pep sent off them.
Okay, yeah, true. Did he play the same wing position today, or was he sort of central behind the striker?
He was on the wing mostly.
On the wing, yeah. On the right wing, and then 15 minutes before the final of the match, he went to left wing.
Right. Interesting. All right. So, Arsenal players in general. I mean, do you think Joel Campbell has done enough to sort of, like Wenger said, he's definitely going to have a look at him at pre-season. Do you think would you rather? I've asked people in the podcast before, so I'm going to ask you guys this question. Are you happy to see Joel Campbell come back, or would you rather us go out and bring back Vela?
I think he deserves a chance. I think Joel Campbell deserves a chance, not only for his performances on the World Cup, but he's done well at Real Betis and Olympiacos too. He deserves at least the pre-season, and maybe a loan to a Premier League team. I don't know, but he's a talent. He has it to make it at Arsenal, I think.
Rick, would you like to see him probably stay at Arsenal for the first half of the season at least, and if he doesn't get many chances beyond, before December, then see him loaned out, or would you loan him out as soon as the season begins, or would you keep him in the squad the whole season? What would you do? What would you like to see happen?
Oh, it's hard for me to say. He looks talented. I'd sure like to give him a chance, but I also see a lot in him that we already have a lot of. I didn't see him. I know he's played up front, he's played on the wing, he does both, and that's great, but I really didn't see him making a lot of runs to split the defense or to get in behind defenders. He's a lot like what we get with Cazorla and other people, where he'll drop back for the ball. And I really think we need somebody that will get in behind the defense. And I didn't see enough out of him on that. Now, the good thing, though, is that when he does have the ball at his feet, he does run at defenders, and I like that, too. So perhaps he's a little better at that than Podolski is.
Could that be because the players that he's playing with at Costa Rica, they're not, not all the central midfield aren't really they don't seem to be very, they don't seem to run ahead that much. Bolaños does on the left wing, and whoever it is on the right wing, and obviously you've got Ruiz that but generally the talent level in their midfield isn't as good as, say, the Arsenal midfield. Do you think that we'll see him dropping back into midfield if he plays for Arsenal as much as he does with Costa Rica?
Hard to say. Maybe it is part of their game plan as Costa Rica. I honestly haven't seen enough of him at Olympiacos, and I've only seen a game and a half here in the World Cup of him. But perhaps he could adjust. Perhaps he could change. He certainly has talent with his feet, so maybe he can get around defenders without having to wait on a pass to split the defense. I don't know.
Cal, what do you make of him? Do you think he can? It seems like he could play across the forward line, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think at the point right now, there's very little point in selling him for a few million because we've already got a very big bank account. We've loaned him out, 2-3 years now. He's had a very good year at Olympiacos, so I think it's time to stick a twist with him. And yeah, you know, I think he looks certainly more developed than Sonogo is. So for me, I think if we were to loan Sonogo out, hopefully to a Premier League side, and use Campbell as a third choice striker behind Giroud and hopefully Benzema or Balotelli, something like that. Then he'd be a good option, a better one than Sonogo. And you know, I think he's shown enough that he does warrant a chance. And you know, as you say, his versatility, he is versatile, and I think that would be a good thing for us, especially given Walcott's injury. I think people are naive if they think that Walcott will be starting the opening game, or will take a bit of time to get back. So yeah, I think he at least deserves a chance, and if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But yeah, I don't think he really could have done much more. You know, he's had a great season for Olympiacos. He scored a screamer against Man United. He's played very well in the World Cup, and I think, you know, I don't think this side can really. I don't think we should be turning our nose up at players with a lot of pace, because we could do with a couple of those. And I think he's also, I mean, that pass for Costa Rica.
Ureno. Yeah, Ureno.
It was brilliant. So I think there's a little bit more to him than just a speed merchant. And as I said, you know, is there any point in selling him for a few million or loading him out again? I think the only way we're going to find out if he's good enough for Arsenal is if he plays for Arsenal. At least give him a season to prove himself.
My worry with Joe coming is the game time Gnabry will have next season.
Yeah, potentially. Although I think Gnabry could probably do with a loan as well, because even without Campbell there last season, he played very little towards the end. And he's only 18, 19 Gnabry, and Campbell's 21 now. So I think Campbell I think Gnabry maybe send him off to a Bundesliga club and where he can get 20, 25 games a season. I like Gnabry. I think he'll be a great player for us, but I think in terms of development, Campbell's probably a little bit more what we need, and the fact that he can play up front as well is a big asset. So
his dad certainly seems to think he's ready for a stint at Arsenal, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean,
by the sounds of it.
I just hope that Wenger doesn't just sell him on for a few minutes.
I understand that they're preparing an extension to his contract, because he's supposed to be, his contract runs to 2016 at the moment. But from what I hear, that Arsenal could well be preparing an extension for his contract. So
well, that's promising. You hope that it's not just to bump his price up.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess if he is going to sign a contract, he probably wouldn't do it unless there was assurances about his future. So. Yeah, I mean, I think it's nice that we've kind of had this option come out of nowhere, really. A player that a lot of us weren't thinking about 6 months ago, and now it looks like he could be a viable option, and a lot of people are getting excited about him. So, yeah, I think most people would be very disappointed if he didn't get much of a look in next year.
On to the actual striker situation. From what I've seen so far this week, and you guys can probably tell me what you've seen. It seems as though Benzema's staying at Real Madrid. Yeah. I think they can offer him a contract extension. It looks like Barcelona are going in for either Higuain or Suarez, but then I hear that Liverpool could be offering him a contract extension or something like that. Is that right? I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about Higuain to Barcelona, but I don't think, realistically, I think we aren't going to go into Higuain. The only way we're going to get Benzema is if they bought Real Madrid bought Suarez. So
I think it would be very wise to have both French strikers at one.
When they're playing this well together, I mean, I understand your point. I mean, when we were linked with Benzema a year ago, I did say that I thought it was I wasn't completely comfortable with two players, but then they can play alongside each other.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, Wenger seemed to edging slightly towards maybe going towards a 4-4-2 at times next season. So, but I think better when you've got a Real Madrid player you're after, the only way you're going to get him is if Real Madrid want to sell him. And if they don't want to sell him, we ain't going to get him.
So that leaves Mandzukic, Balotelli. People saying Cavani could be an option.
Yeah. I think Mandzukic is off back to Wolfsburg as well, apparently.
That's what I heard today. I couldn't believe it.
Well, they've got tons of money, and I think they might have finished in the top 4 in Germany last year. Could be wrong, but I think they're on their way up anyway. So, although Mandzukic I was never keen on anyway because he's too similar to Giroud. We don't need another big target. I know he's a good finisher, but we need pace. We need a bit of ingenuity. And Mandzukic. Yeah, I mean Balotelli really. I mean, I was never really for it, but given the amount of options we have, and it just seems like fuck it, it's worth the punt. You know what I mean? Like he could. Is he
just a punt though? Is he really just a punt?
He isn't just a punt, but I'm never going to be fully convinced on his temperament, and it's always going to be. If we do sign him, there'll be a lot of yeah, it is a risk. It's definitely a risk, but if it pays off, we'll have a real world-class striker on our hands. And I think Balotelli, with Balotelli, I can just see him being the kind of player that would score a Stamford Bridge when we need a last-minute goal, or score against City. I feel like, and often we don't have enough of those players. You know, someone like Özil didn't impress at all last season in the big games. Ramsey did at times, but again, so I think we could do with I mean, a bit of a nutcase. You know, it's all maybe we've been a little bit too nice. You know, and you know, there's talk that he's apparently got engaged recently and he has settled down a little bit. And you know, if we say to him, look, you're going to be earning a hell of a lot of money with us. You're going to be our main man. You're 23 now. This is the time to stick or twist. This is the time that you really prove yourself. And you know what Balotelli's like. I mean, the way he was giving it the 2-1 signal after you beat England, he would love it. He would love it to come. He would love to come to England and dominate. And
I'm sure he'd love London more than he did Manchester.
That's what I'm afraid of.
But look,
that's what I'm afraid of.
But I have reservations about it, but it's exciting. If we signed Balotelli, I would be incredibly excited. I'd be a bit worried, but you know, whatever happened, it'd be entertaining, wouldn't it?
So definitely.
I'm pretty much with Callum on this one. I'd be a little worried, but it would be exciting. He could offer something that we don't have a lot of. He could be a total head case. I don't know, but it would be exciting either way.
He's definitely that enigmatic match winner. He's got it in his locker, hasn't he?
I mean, like if he's blowing cold, just play Giroud. Giroud will put a shift in. Yeah. And if we sign Mandzukic, it won't excite me at all. It just, I mean, at the same time though, if we signed, oh, by the way, that Bosnia goal was definitely onside. You've got off with one there. But no, anyway, sorry. But there's talk maybe. I mean, the only player I'd prefer to Balotelli at this point who's realistic would be Sanchez, and I know that he's not an actual striker. But
you could see he could convert into.
Oh, I know, but he's
already played there for Udinese.
He did, didn't he? He has played there for Udinese.
He's such an amazing player that you put him in there. I mean, just put like Remy in there, he'd probably do a job. I mean, with Sanchez next to him, I mean, it's just he's such an incredible player.
For me, people were always saying Pedro, and I always said Pedro's fine, but there's something about Sanchez that I'd put him above Pedro in the picking order. I mean, he's going to buy somebody, and that's not from this World Cup, but because I've seen him play at Udinese with Di Natale and all those guys, and playing at Barcelona, you can see he can develop into a striker.
Well, the goal he scored against Atletico on the last day of the season was just unreal.
Yeah,
and then he scored a chip from about 30 yards against Real Madrid. I mean, he is such a quality player, and he's so exciting. If Wenger said if he bought Sanchez and goes, look, I'm going to play him as a striker, I'd be like, fine. Because I wasn't happy with, I wasn't comfortable with the idea of getting Draxler in January and making him into a striker because he's very raw. But Sanchez is world class, and I reckon that he could probably, it would work. I mean, that would excite me more than anything else.
Before we wrap it up, I mean, the one position that I suppose we haven't really spoken about, the goalkeeper position. I don't know if this Ochoa guy is going to come in.
I was saying we should buy Ochoa months ago. Now people have all jumped on the bandwagon.
So if we do, we can thank Callum.
I agreed with him months ago.
I liked him. I liked Ochoa before it was cool.
He was a one man. There was a meme of him in the Matrix thing where, you know, when Neo's sort of stopping all the bullets, and it's him stopping all the balls or whatever, and he was actually outstanding. He was outstanding, wasn't he?
I hate this guy so much.
But the other position that no one's really spoken about recently is that defensive, or that, I don't want to call it defensive midfielder, but that powerhouse midfield position. And that, I don't know, I haven't really read the gossip papers recently or on the internet, but has there been any news on that score?
I don't think there has, really. I mean, there was talk about Javi Martinez, wasn't there, briefly about a month ago, but that seemed to be a bit, a little bit extremely unlikely to happen.
Well, Spain is shit now, so we don't need to
yeah. Yes. Sorry, Santi, mate. You're off. But I want a bender. I want either Lars or Sven. I think both. You talk about, I mean, Lars is not quite as defensive minded, but he is an absolute machine. He's got stamina to burn. Sven is very good defensively. Schneiderlin, we've been linked with a little bit. I think he'd be decent, but Southampton are selling so many players that they probably don't need to sell him. So, no, there hasn't been a lot.
What do you think about Luis Gustavo from Brazil?
And there's been this talk about Luis Gustavo in this week as well.
He's very good.
I'd take him. I mean,
could he be as good as someone like? Do you think he's sort of plays in a similar mold to Gilberto Silva, Matheus?
More aggressive. He's more aggressive.
He's had a lot of red cards and yellow cards, hasn't he, in Germany?
Mm-hmm, both yeah.
Yeah, his disciplinary record isn't that great, is it?
No, it isn't. But he can improve that. I think he can improve that.
But as a man, as a defensive midfielder, do you think he's one of the best out there? You think he's?
I wouldn't go that far, but he's very good. He's very good. He still have room to improve. I think under Wenger, he turned into a very good player.
The question I want to know is, I mean, why did he choose Wolfsburg in the first place if he's now open to the possibility of coming to Arsenal? I just never got that.
Well, they're minted, aren't they?
Yeah, I suppose they are, but I mean, they're not more prestigious than Arsenal. I mean, if they're minted, let him stay.
He needed to play. He needed to play to come to the World Cup. Filipão told all the players they needed game time to come to the World Cup.
I heard that apparently he was a year off getting German citizenship, which would also mean EU citizenship and therefore no work permit issues. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it. But it wasn't a deal that we just backed out. There was a lot of talk about us having the deal gone, but we couldn't agree a fee, and then Wolfsburg came along and just said, lazy money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it ever got to the point where he turned us down for them. I got the impression that we just didn't go in for enough.
Yeah, we're assuming he turned down. You know, we don't have any proof we bid for him.
True. Okay, cool. So maybe it could be a good Luis Gustavo then that comes in after the World Cup.
I would be happy with him, probably because that's the position I'm least confident about Wenger going in for. Like, I think he will get a right back. I think he will get a striker. I think he might even get a left winger. But I feel like part of him is still like, Arteta and Flamini will do. And that's what scares me. So if we did go and get Gustavo, I'd be pleased, because I think that's a position we really need to strengthen. And I'm not confident he'll do it. So if he does go and get Gustavo, I'll be pleased that he actually has bought someone of note, rather than just sticking with what he has.
Okay, coolio. All right, let's wrap it up, guys. I want to go and see the second half of the Nigeria game. So I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank Rick.
Hey, good evening.
Cut me off, Doris.
Callum.
Go Portugal.
And special guest.
I'm kidding, Rick. I'm kidding.
Our special guest, Matheus. Matheus, where can people find you? What's your Twitter handle?
Gunnar
Attic.
Yes.
Great stuff.
It was a real pleasure to be here tonight, guys, and come on, you Gunners.
Unbelievable. Great stuff. Thank you for coming on, Matheus, and thank you all guys for coming on. That's been another edition of the Gunnar Ramble AFTV podcast of World Cup Weekly. Catch us again on Wednesday night when we have a Chilean, Arsenal. We've got Gary L. Smith, an Africa correspondent, and other Gunners. coming up next week and throughout the duration of the World Cup. My name is Giles. I'm going to wish you all a very good weekend. Keep it Arsenal. Thank you, and bye-bye.